All right, folks, we are back. Sorry about the delay in the reset. One of the computers went down, and I had to do a reboot of that as I was trying to do that. I lost the first one, so it does happen. But at this point, what we were talking about again was the Biden situation and his current status and the status of the Democratic Party. And to get a little different perspective on it, I've dialed up, decided to phone a friend, and my daughter, one of my two daughters, Angela, who is as much of a political nerd as I am, certainly has been watching all the goings on of the week and kind of bring in a second perspective here, give me a chance also to get this system off the ground and running. So let's give it a shot here and see if I can do a bring-in on this. Angela.
Hey.
You there? All right.
Can you hear me?
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the show.
It's a little bit of a delay, but I can hear you.
All right. As long as we can get you in there. But, yeah, I kind of wanted to get a different perspective on this. You might want to back off your volume just a little bit if you can.
Okay.
Try to get that to work a little bit better.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
That's good. That's awesome. So anyway, you've been watching the goings on of the week. We just had our first of two major speeches, well, more than two major speeches, but acceptance speech last night, which I thought was awesome. We've got another one, the big tamale tonight. But kind of the topic of discussion where I started this whole thing, Angela, was where is this country going with what happened on Saturday? And I think you'd agree people need to calm it down a little bit, take it down a notch or two, rethink and get back to what the general premise of democracy is.
Exactly. I think last night was incredible. My husband and I watched the J.D. Vance memoir book movie on Netflix yesterday, and it was absolutely moving, to say the least. It's been one of my favorite movies I think that I've seen recently. And then to watch him speak last night and to honor his mother and see her there standing was an absolute incredible moment. I think the American people, a lot of which, suffer with addiction in their families as well. And this was a huge platform to say, you know what, you can beat this. I just thought it was great. And I think everything that he has turned around and said, okay, I'm going to stand with Trump. I think, honestly, I know it's a little early, but I think he is the next generation of Republicans that's going to lead us into the future.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the one thing that comes out of this. Instead of picking for a term or picking for someone who may have a shot and kicking the can down the road, they've picked someone who has the horsepower, the history, is eloquent, is honest. His speech last night was amazing. And you're absolutely right. He honored his heritage, his mother, with all the problems. And I think what we have is the potential for the next generation. But there'd been a lot of names bandied around down the road, but I think we need to get past this election cycle before we start bantering the group. But everybody from Sarah Huckabee, bunch of names being bounced around. So let's get through what we have here. But he is certainly someone. I think it was a wise choice. It certainly wasn't who I would have come up with. I was putting my money on somebody completely different. I'll keep it to myself. But he was certainly on the radar, but wouldn't be. I wouldn't have made any money off this bet for sure. And I think a lot of people can say the same thing. But definitely a good move and a very moving speech and very well put, well presented. And for the final night, we move on to what will be actually not the speech that was written for that Trump wrote prior to the assassination attempt. And we're all looking forward to hear what he has to say, along with his acceptance and where it goes. But the other news, as we said, going back over to the other side, and we wish the president all the best, but the understanding we have now is he is down for the third time. And also looking at a lot of people are conjecturing that there will be something decided before the weekend. We can only hope that's the truth.
Oh, I've seen a lot today on the news. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people discussing today on the news, and not just Fox. That's what I think people are so really astounded by and shocked, to say the least, is that you have MSNBC on there in a panic. And I think a lot of people are just, their eyes are being opened. The calls are being, hey, maybe you should reconsider. And now the new narrative with the whole COVID diagnosis recently over the last, 2 days. I think it's just, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And,
he doesn't want
blinded by the light.
Well, and when Biden was elected, he himself said he was a transitional president. The process was that he would be around for one term in the transition for the next generation to come through. So the party may have misfired on that. I don't think anybody anticipated the massive decline, health decline.
Oh yeah, and very rapid too. It's been over the last, year or two that we've seen just him go from, being able to get through a speech, get through these engagements with these leaders of other countries, to barely being able to walk. He looks like a robot reset, when he walks off the stage. It's alarming, I think, to a lot of people. And I think it's good that people are finally waking up and saying, okay, you know what? Like, maybe it's not good. Like, maybe we should step away from this narrative of everything's fine and say, okay, we're using our eyes right now, and we can't, something's wrong. Like, something is not okay with this man. And I think he owes it to himself as well as the American people to say, if I'm not up to leading at my full potential, maybe we should be having those discussions privately.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a discussion that I've had with some other people too, that everyone has done, in my opinion, again, I think you can figure out what my dog in the hunt is, just bringing up some more information here, but everyone from the party to his family to the media have all done him, and by default, the country, a disservice. This has not been something that blew up overnight. This has gradually taken its toll on him. And whether you are a fan of Joe Biden or not, I think you'd agree, he's the president. He deserves a certain moniker of respect, irrespective of whether you agree with his policies and what he's done. We can talk for hours about that. The issue at hand is, does he deserve to be drug along, carried along for the benefit of whoever, the family, the party, whomever?
Right. And I think at a certain point you have to say the humanity, have humanity for people. He is a human being. He is a man. And, his family, first and foremost, above the party especially. But I think they need to be having those conversations and saying, okay, you have, accomplished so much, or you've been, in office for so long, and you've been vice president, and you've been president, you've done all these great and wonderful things, or, however they're going to spin it to them, and just say, okay, you also deserve in your old age to live your life quietly and take care of your medical needs appropriately on your terms and not in front of the grand specter of the entire world.
Correct. He has been a lifelong force in politics, and there's a lot to be said for legacy. And I don't believe whether you're Democrat, Republican, whatever you are, I don't care. He deserves a moniker of respect and be allowed to go, not off into the sunset, bad way to put it, but to enjoy the legacy, however good, bad, or indifferent it is. And I think, again, he was done a complete disservice by the people around him that were not honest with him or themselves and let this get to the point that there's plenty of now fodder to throw at somebody who is a sick old man right now. So the time has come, and I think everyone now has fortunately turned to that decision, but at the same time, unfortunately, I sense turned on him. As I was saying to someone this morning, it's like now he's in the middle of the room and everybody's pointing at him and just like it's his fault. And
right.
It's unfair what they've done.
These people have a lot to blame. Sorry, Dad.
No, they can look at themselves. They look at themselves before they look at anybody else. Look in the mirror if you want to know who's to blame for things getting this bad.
Right.
And then here get back to the fact that the office of the president and the whole world looks to us, and they look at us as foolish or afraid that the man at the top of the food chain is barely functional.
Right. I think in business, and a lot of people, they don't want to say run the country like a business. It is a business. And when you are in a business meeting, okay, and you present yourself as feeble, weak, safe, it is the worst thing you could ever do. You're not going to get your point across. Nobody's going to take you seriously. Nobody's going to take your policy seriously, what you have to say, your beliefs, everything about you, because what you're putting yourself out there as and what the party is represented as in the United States as a whole, like you said, a lot of these countries, these world leaders are looking at us like, okay, well, these people put him in office, so they must believe.
Well,
we need that power and that lion.
Well, and that's what it comes down to. Again, we can sit here. We'll get into the details another day of what team we prefer to be on. But the one thing that came out of the attempt on Saturday, when Trump got up and put his fist in the air and said, "Fight," that really struck me as telling not just his supporters and his people, but I'm here. I'll fight. I don't give up. You want a lion, you got one.
Right.
It's something for the world and even the stock markets to look to and say, well, if this in fact takes place and if in fact the election goes this way, there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train coming at us. Because if the president does not make the decision to withdraw, and if this goes their way in November, one cannot even think about. We have no status in the world, and with things being as bad as they are between the Ukraine and the things that have been said by Russia and what's going on in over the Middle East and what's going on over in China and Taiwan and all this going on, again, not picking parties and picking on people, but it would certainly make things appear in a position of weakness, both from the current president and the potential choice if something were to happen to that person. Again, not trying to be pointing
Right.
fingers, but we all know where the fingers are going.
Exactly. I think a lot of Americans after that tragedy, and I just want to say um, prayers and thoughts, especially to the victims. It was such a senseless situation that those families now that's what they have to deal with, and it should never have happened. But besides that, I think a lot of Americans after that day, and my daughters and I, my 14-year-old daughters and I watched it live, and they had a lot of questions, and rightfully so. I think a lot of Americans watching that, regardless of what side you were on, whenever tragedy strikes in America, I think the best course of action for all of us is unity, regardless of what political affiliation you are, what religion you are. We are all human beings, and no one should ever have to be subjected to a life or death situation like that.
Absolutely. And afterwards, what came out of some of the other media? Some of the remarks that were made by some of the pundits and talk show people. Remarks like, too bad he missed, and various other things. I want to say Jack Black, there was something, one of his concerts, or all his concerts got canceled. His was made on stage.
Yeah, his partner made that remark after a birthday celebration on stage, and things have happened with that since. But you have to be, I don't know. I don't understand how you can say something like that. Right. You have to rise above the hate and just, he is a human being. If that was their father or that grandfather, would they have felt the same? No.
No. And the family members were talking about that. I believe it was his daughter-in-law who was at home, and the kids, they were watching on TV when that happened. We all got to rise above the politics at times. It's tough with a bloodbath, bad choice of words, but with this political season, that how toxic it is, and you got to rise above it. And this just fuels the fire. With everybody preaching unity and then reacting in this manner, you're going to get what you get. You would expect it's only going to get potentially worse. So that's why everybody needs to step back and take a deep breath and say, you know what, let's listen to what the candidates say. Let's focus on where the problems are. We can talk about Trump all day long and all the things that have happened and all the mud that's been slung at him and all the court cases over the last week or so. You've been seeing a lot of that being drawn back now. Supreme Court's gotten involved. We can talk about that till the cows come home. At the end of the day, in this case, if the president pulls out, if Biden does not run, then who is the candidate? Who will be the better candidate? Who has the better ideas? Who can fix the problems we have right now? We can sit and argue about that and say, clearly, 4 years ago, things were better. Well, you know what? 4 years before, what was it then? But let's stop the rhetoric and let's stop the mudslinging and taking shots across the bow at people who don't deserve it. And again, looking back at that and the fact that someone did lose their life that day. Well, two did.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the two. Well, one of the two was the actual shooter. But yeah, we need to dial this back a little bit before it gets out of hand. I look forward to
I think
the Democratic convention.
a lot of what's
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Doug.
No, you got it. I was just saying, I look
Oh,
forward to
okay.
hopefully
I was
a
going to
very.
say a lot.
You got it.
Sorry, it's a delay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just going to say a lot of what's been spoken about at the Republican National Convention over the last few days has been that word unity. And I think, regardless of your feelings of the past, um, right now is what we're dealing with. And if America does not come together on this, it is not going to be good, you know, in the future for decades to come. Um, so I think right now, the focus of the Republicans is, focused on those policies. How are they going to make it better? What are they going to implement on, supposed day one?
Hmm.
What is their end goal, so to speak, of okay, over that 4 years, if Donald Trump does win the presidency, um, focusing on what they're going to do, not any more of this bickering and you know outlandish, crazy stuff. Just focus on how we're going to help people and how we are going to make America wealthy and strong and all of the things that they've laid out in the daily speeches. I think really that's what the Democratic Party needs to focus on as well. Um, Not just the whole Biden, if he's going to stay, if he's going to go thing, but what are they going to focus on? How are they going to make everything come out of the ashes and will rise above and all these things? I think that's what they need to focus on right now.
Yeah. Well, and wouldn't it be unique if we actually had two parties that could actually meet in the middle a little bit, have a meeting of the minds for the betterment of the country, instead of just picking sides and either I'm going to get my way or I'm going to take my marbles and go home. That's the way it is, and it's on both sides of the aisle. I mean, we can sit here and talk about who you're backing and who I'm backing, who somebody else is backing. This has been going on for a long time. It's just coming to a fever pitch now. And now you have people
Right.
resorting to violence on top of it. It would be a good time for, I think, both parties to step back, take a good hard look at themselves, reinvent themselves. Instead of the Democratic Party going so far to the left, they're going to fall off the table, and the Conservative Party saying, okay, well, if you're going to push that far that direction, we're going to push that far this direction. Let's try to get it back to where maybe we were 15, 20 years ago, where at least they could meet and talk. Nobody got
Mm-hmm.
everything they wanted, but that's the joy of democracy. Nobody ever
Right.
gets
And I
everything they
think,
wanted.
right, JD Vance laid that out in his speech last night, actually, saying, he
Yeah.
really loves having different opinions. Have everybody come to the table, and we might not like everything everybody has to say or, go with this policy over this one this time. But the point is that we're all together in the fight to make America the best it can be. That's what matters the most.
Exactly. But hopefully, maybe this season, after the dust settles, that'll happen. But the issue is going to be that, again, we'll make an assumption here that the polls are absolutely correct and that Trump is going to win. Again, we're not going to get into. We'll get into that another day. We'll get into that love fest another time. But if that happens, the never Trumpers, the Trump haters, will never, I think, buy in, even though they will benefit from him coming back in. And I do believe that would be the case. I
Well,
mean, as
and
far as the border goes, as far as economics go, as far as taxation goes, we already know that the Democrats want to let the tax cut expire. We already know they're trying to back themselves into a fix on the border. That was stopped on day one when the administration took over. So they would benefit. Everyone would benefit by just looking across the aisle and saying, you know what, let's just take a deep breath and just shut up and listen for a change. And maybe, like he said last night, like you made the point, ideas come out of disagreement. Use your what do we always say? Use your ears first, not your mouth. And I think that's one thing that they could learn a little bit of a lesson. But I've got real concerns about that because the party and the divisiveness is running so deeply right now. It's going to take a lot to dial that back. But it needs to happen sooner than later. And then you then move towards the future. You move towards the next 8 years, the next 12 years, the next cycle at least.
Right.
But
and I think, it goes to say Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not going to figure all this out in 24 hours. You're not going to figure all this out in 3 months, 6 months, a term of presidency even potentially. Yeah. But the starting point is there. You have to make that first step. Yeah. And I think that's, the most important thing is that if everybody is making an effort in some capability, in some capacity, I think, you're only going to go better from there. And that's just proven, common sense stuff.
Right. We're not going to fix overnight what it took years to break. That's the short and sweet of it.
Right.
But, we do send out, at least this week, we hope for a very positive, very calm completion of the convention tonight. Again, I look forward to the Democratic convention, and hopefully everybody takes a nice deep breath. That's going to be a barn burner, depending on how this next few days into next week go. But we hope for the best for them, and that we end up with a situation where we can have honest debate leading into November and get some things accomplished.
Right.
But for right now, I mean, it's been a week from where, and to those who the fireman that was killed Saturday, people that were injured, we give them our thoughts and prayers, like you said, and prayers for the president that he fully recovers, and prayers that the media and those pundits that decided that it's a good time to make fun of something, that they kind of find the right way, because, again, fueling the fire right now is not helping anything.
No, it never will. It's never going to help. And I'm excited to see, what happens in the next, every day it's so much. But over the next week, I think we're going to really, once the Republican National Convention wraps up tonight, and we move on into, okay, now we're in the, we're getting closer to August and September, and there's debates coming up. There's, the polls are going to shift and move. I think it's going to be interesting to see how all this, really pans out. There's so much still that could happen for November 5th. And I'm just really excited to see, I hope that more people can come together in that unity before the election. We can just pray for it for now.
Yeah, at this point, all we can do is one person, one vote. And that's what I tell people, and I'll continue to tell people. And I'll tell the viewers out there, anybody that watches this, is watching, or comes in later on, watches the replay, get out there and vote. That's what the foundation of the country is. That's what our forefathers and our parents and our relatives have fought for all these years and died for. Instead of shooting at each other, both figuratively and literally, get out there, learn, gain knowledge about the candidates, about what they stand for, make a good decision. There are people that are crossing lines left and right, lines with respect to the party lines. I know I've been voting since I was 18, and I crossed the line one time. Wasn't the biggest, smartest thing I ever did, but I had the right to do that. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will take a good hard look at their respective parties and make a good conscious decision based on the reality of the situation and the truth, rather than just flipping a lever because mom and dad and grandpa always did it. That's just the bad answer. And I think that's helped put us in the place we're in right now.
Exactly. I mean, when I was telling you, the other night, one of my daughters, she was upset. She had to go to sleep and she couldn't stay up and watch, the speeches being given, and she was really getting into the whole process. And I remember telling her, honey, no matter who you vote for, when you're able, because this next election cycle, they'll be eligible to vote for the first time, which is a huge deal. So proud. But I told her, you can vote for anybody you want, and you don't let anybody else make that decision but you. That is your right as an American citizen that you have to vote. And take it serious. Watch the debates, watch the conventions, watch the news, read the articles, so that you're as educated as possible, so that when you make your choice, you feel confident that you made the right choice for you. And I say that to everybody. Do that. If you've never voted before in your life and you are eligible as an American citizen to vote, I highly suggest that you go and sign up to vote. It takes no time at all. And, I think this is a great time in our country to come together and say, you know what? Even if I've never voted before, I feel compelled and I feel educated enough that I can say, you know what? I feel like I need to go vote right now. And take your family members, get your friends out there.
Yep, get out there and exercise the right that you've been given. And don't complain anybody about showing ID. I don't even want to get into that right now, but that just burns me up every time somebody starts that. We shouldn't have to show ID. You got to show ID to go in and buy a six-pack, man. Don't complain that you're casting a vote for the top position with all the power in this country, and you got to show your driver's license. Shut up and do it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Right. I agree. I agree.
That fries my tail feathers, but that's another story. But anyway, with that, I think what we're going to do, we just crossed the 30-minute line, and I just want to tell everybody this is the first jump on the new channel. We do have David Delivers Space out there, and that is a very well-attended channel that we run and carry all the space launches and live feeds and all that kind of cool stuff. But this is our new channel that I really want to be able to just talk with folks about the events of the day, and it won't all be politics, but right now, of course, what else could it be? I mean, seriously? Way too much going on this week to not talk about it.
Right. Big jam-packed week.
Yeah, and this is just the first snippet. Clearly took me a second to have to, I had two computers go down on me, so that didn't help the cause at all, but I was able to at least bring Angie in. And, we're going to have other people that we're going to try to bring in and guests. I know Angie's going to want to come back and fight with me all the time because that's what we do. So.
Hey, I'll never turn down politics or space. Oh, absolutely. And, you can't go wrong. I just want to say thank you to Elon Musk while we're on live.
Absolutely. That's something we didn't even touch on.
I knew I had to, Dad.
I'm sorry about that. We are a minute over, but all right. You go ahead. You tell him.
Okay, so obviously a lot of us are aware of Saturday, what happened. Within 5 minutes of the tragic events taking place, Elon, who had said that he was not going to endorse anyone this political season, has decided that he is not only going to endorse Donald J. Trump for president, but he is also committed to a hefty donation sum per month, supposedly in the reports, until the election. So I think, and he's a smart guy. I have to say, he's pretty smart. I like him.
Yeah. Where Elon goes, I will follow. There's no doubt about that. Besides being a political and news junkie, I'm also a space nerd with an attitude. And any man that steps up, any person, but in this case, he identifies as a man. You always got to be careful with this stuff.
I think the least thing he's worried about, Dad.
That's the least he cares about. But anyone that'll come up to the plate and drop 45 million a month. A month.
Yeah.
Has picked his team. No doubt about that. So, but what do they say? Put your money where your mouth is, and he is definitely putting his money where his mouth is. And on top of that, Elon is also pulling his companies out of California. So again, we'll get into a
Oh
discussion
yes,
about that
that
one
is
day. But
that is
yeah,
true. That's and good for him though.
his
He
company,
is
his
a
rules.
business owner, and exactly, if you feel as a business owner that it does not represent the values of your business, you have every right as an American citizen to pull your business out of that state and move it somewhere else. And that's exactly what he did, and good for him.
I'm going to take my marbles and I'm going to go home. In his case, he's taking his
Right.
marbles and his rocket engines and going to Texas.
Hey,
So,
and you know what?
guys,
I'm sure Texas is going to welcome him with open arms,
absolutely,
as they already have,
absolutely.
technically.
They're just one of the states that's growing leaps and bounds, just like my state of Florida. People have had enough of the stupid, and they're heading to states that actually, for the most part, share values. But yeah,
Right.
Elon has certainly he continues to make the news every week, and this week he made the news to 45 million times just this month. So.
It's just incredible.
But, just incredible, but that's just another part of this whole game. So, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to call the stream, call it a day, or call episode 1 or volume 1 or whatever we're going to call this thing. We'll call it for today anyway. And we'll invite you back for the next episode. What I'm going to do is, and just let you know, I'll put it up as we schedule a time. I'll put those up. It'll be on the page. Hit the notify button, you guys. It'll notify you when we go live or when we're going to post something out here new. Please subscribe, please like, please share, do all the YouTube stuff, push all the buttons, have a blast. But just get the word out. We'd like to spend more time with you and talk more about the things that we think are pretty important. So I think with that, we'll say have a good afternoon, have a good evening. Make sure you register to vote. Watch the final evening tonight as Donald J. Trump accepts the party nomination for president. And we'll recap that and go into that at probably on the next, what's it going to be? Volume? Page? Channel? Episode?
Well, I like episode. I don't know.
Episode? All right, we'll call this episode 1 because episode 0 is probably going to be taken away because it went crazy on me. So we'll call this episode 1. So anyway, I guess we'll say goodnight and load up for the next one. And anything?
I just want to say, if you guys have anything you want us to talk about more in depth, leave it in the comments. And like and subscribe.
Comments are our friends, and we will be putting getting this set up fine tuned a little bit. We might be able to get some dial-in stuff and get some additional activity for the viewers. So just a heads up with that. But right now, comments are awesome. Whatever you want to talk about, you got a comment, go ahead and do it. I get them right here when my computer's working. And if not, this one, wait a minute. Right there. There she is. She'll pull it up as a moderator. So I guess we'll say good afternoon for about the 4th time. We'll catch you on episode 2. And Ange, thanks for coming in. Yo. All right. We'll see you all later.
See ya.
Bye.